Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Pure Nintendo podcast. This is your weekly dose of all things Nintendo. My name is Gemma, and joining me this week for this special Game of the Year episode, I have my three excellent friends. I have Countdown Kirk. Welcome back, Kirk.
Hey, good to be here. Happy New Year. Happy holidays, everybody. Let's count some things
Yes,
down.
let's count some things down. I have the tie-breaking Trev. Welcome back,
Ooh, I
Trev.
like that. And I may be breaking some ties, who knows?
Yes, and because you know all of our lists in advance, so that's why you're the tiebreaker.
Oh, I
And
do.
and I'm gonna have to explain this one. The justifiable Justin. Welcome back,
Okay,
Justin.
good to be here.
And just quickly, the reason that I feel like you are really good with your reviews, very balanced and fair. For example, during the last week, I saw an article about Tears of the Kingdom saying something like, "Can we now admit that Tears of the Kingdom wasn't as good as we all thought it was when it was released?" And I'm like, Justin said that in his review. Like, of course, it's a great game. They weren't bagging it. They were saying it's a very, very good
Exactly.
game, but they were just saying there were issues, and Justin mentioned those issues. So the justifiable Justin. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining me this week. Thank you, listeners. We are here to count down our top games. What a way to end the year! Our top games of 2024. It's our final episode of the year. We're going to go around round robin style, where we count down. I'll go first. I'll do my number 10. Then Kirk can jump in and do his number 10, and Trev. Justin has had a busy year and only has 7 on his list, so he can jump in at number 7. But feel free to comment on any of the games as we go, Justin, of course. So
Yeah.
I'll kick things off with, unless anyone else had anything to add before we do kick things off, of course. We're all good. I will start with my number 10 game of the year, which was a game that goes right back to the beginning of the year, actually. It's Mario versus Donkey Kong. And I reviewed this game and I really enjoyed it. It was I guess a re-release of sorts, or an HD remake of a game. And Trev might help me out. Was it a 3DS or a DS or something?
GBA, actually.
GBA, that's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, for me, I hadn't played the original of this. I played others in the series, but not the original. Really enjoyed this puzzle game. It looked beautiful. It has new levels and multiplayer mechanics. I gave it a very healthy 9 out of 10, so I was very happy with this one. It was a good way to start the year, I thought. And that was my number 10. I won't go into too much detail. I think we know how this one works. It's a puzzle game, side-scroller. Yeah, really, really fun, though. I really enjoyed that one. So that made my number 10. I have to say at the very beginning of this, sorry, I should have mentioned this. This is games we have played. Obviously, we haven't played every game in 2024. These are games we have played. Yes, so that might not be on everyone's list if they haven't played it, of course. But yeah, and I've struggled a lot. I had like 13 on my list. I just sort of cut it down. So that one just scraped in. But yes.
I like the demo of that game. I never picked up the full
Yeah,
game, but
it did have
I
a
feel like
decent
if I
demo.
had, I feel like if I had it, probably would have squeezed in my list too.
Yeah, just to make things harder. Kirk, would you like to give us your number 10 of 2024?
Yeah, I'll give my number 10, and it's certainly the most unique game I played all year. It's The Veil Shadow of the Crown. This is a game that is released for people who are visually impaired or blind. It's all
That's
audio, 100% audio driven. The game is nothing but like a black screen with like some sort of yellow floaty type objects, I guess. But it's an RPG it's narrative driven, and you're listening for audio cues. There's actual combat, like you can hear animals approaching from the right, and so you need to attack or guard from the right. Um, and one of the reasons it got on here, I think, is also because I had a very unique experience with it, where I drove my wife and some of the kids up to Cleveland to see a play. I can't even remember which one it was, but one I didn't want to see. So I took this game and my Switch and I sat on a bench in a park on the shores of Lake Erie and just shut my eyes and played the game with the wind blowing in my face and the sun shining down. It was a cold day, I remember. But such a unique experience to play it that way. It's a short game. It's only a little over 5 hours. Does get a little redundant after a while. You know, there's only so much you can do when a game completely audio driven, but worthy of being in my top 10.
very cool. I do remember you talking about that one. Such a unique concept. Yes. I'm glad it made your list.
How are the graphics in that one?
Black. Is it just black?
They actually, it was kind of cool because when you shut your eyes, you can still see sort of like light floating around. That's kind of what the visuals that they had. If you bothered to open your eyes and look at it, that's all you saw.
Ah,
Yeah. I like that you actually experienced it the way they would have intended it to be experienced, by closing your eyes and actually just, enhancing your other senses a little bit, maybe by
Yeah,
closing your eyes. Yeah. That's really cool.
yeah, and definitely one to play with a good set of headphones too, of course.
Yes. Definitely. Definitely. Thank you, Kirk. Let's move on to your number 10, Trev.
all right. So for my number 10, I have a game called Crow Country, which is a horror game, a teen-rated horror, so not overly horrific, but here it is. This episode is going to be uploaded like New Year's Eve, and I'm talking about a horror game. So any
Mhm.
month, any time, if you play this game, there's a good chance you'll really get into it. It's not dependent on anything, seasonal or anything. It's from SFB Games. They did a Snipper Clips and Tangle Tower. That's another high score from us, and it just really, I guess, takes the survival horror aspects and makes them work well. It's an abandoned amusement park, which is a classic setting, and it leads to a strong story. Presentation wise, it's got 32-bit visuals, which I found a nice change of pace. As much as I love like 8 and 16-bit pixel art, I think it really worked for the more creepy angle they were going at. Great fitting soundtrack, the puzzles. In fact, if it wasn't for the combat being clunky, I probably would have scored this even higher up on my list. But it still managed to squeeze its way in. If you haven't checked it out yet, Crow Country, make sure you do. I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, excellent. I do remember that one, you talking about that one during the year as well, Trev. It did look really good. Unfortunately didn't go around to playing that one myself. Yeah. Justin, do you have any comments on our number 10s before I head on over to number 9?
I like to see some more of the indie games and smaller games getting in the top 10, which is cool.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, well, I'll move on to number 9, and it's not it's not an indie game. This is Paper Mario, which maybe is surprising that it's only number 9 on my list, I think, but I did debate long and hard about this one because it's an excellent game, of course. It's just that it is a remake, and I thought to myself, it's excellent. I love Paper Mario. I had played this one originally on the GameCube and loved it, and I got this again, picked it up for the Switch and loved it as well. And the only reason it's a little bit further down is that it's really just a remake and not there wasn't a whole lot different in my mind, but it's still an excellent game and I really enjoyed playing it again. I think because Donkey Kong, like Mario and Donkey Kong, I hadn't played, made it a bit more interesting to me, even though I did put that on number 10. But yeah, Paper Mario, it's it's that storybook adventure, that paper look, very humorous and interesting characters that you meet along the way. There is a lot to love about this title, and I definitely enjoyed my time with it. And I know, Trev, you reviewed this one too, didn't you?
I did, and I'll just give a little heads up. Don't feel too bad about putting it low because there were other people who put it higher. So I'll
Okay.
just leave it at that.
Fair enough, yes. Thank you. Yeah, so Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door, that was my number 9 title. What about you, Kirk? What's your number 9 title?
My number 9 is the first of 4 remasters or remakes or re-releases, I guess. This one is El Shaddai: Ascension of the Metatron, which was originally released in 2011. It's a very trippy, visually fascinating game that kind of has religious content. I've read people saying that it's Bible based, but it's based on a book like the Book of Enoch, which is not actually in the Bible. So that is that assertion is wrong, I suppose. But it's like God is a good guy in this one, and in most JRPGs, you're at the end of it, you have to fight God or the gods. And this one, he's got your back, so that felt nice. The reason why it didn't score higher for me is because it changes up the gameplay a lot and it changes up the visuals a lot. And there were some platforming levels that I thought were pretty much brutally unfair and really slowed things down to a crawl at times. And I didn't like that. but if it's developed by let's see, it was directed by Takayasu. Apologies on that. Who was the character designer on games like Devil May Cry and Okami and Fatal Frame: Mask of the Lunar Eclipse. So it's definitely got a good pedigree behind it. But yeah, if you're into just like action combat platforming games, this is one of the most unique and fascinating ones that I've looked at in quite some time.
Excellent. Yeah, I remember you talking about this one during the year. You have a very unique set of games, which I love, and I wouldn't have even heard of this if you hadn't mentioned it. So yes, thank you, Kirk. Any comments, Trevor or Justin? On El Shaddai?
I'll have to check my apocryphal Bible to see if it has Enoch in it.
Yeah. Well, Trev, let's move on to your number 9 then. What have you got for us?
Yeah, so I'm really happy to have this one on my list because out of the 10 games I have, 9 of these games I looked, they have meta scores that are green, which is, 75 or higher. So good games, favorable games, positive recommendations. Like Crow Country, for instance, has 81 on Metacritic. But this game does not have a Metascore because we were actually the only Metacritic site to cover it. Wow. So I'm really happy to give it a shout out, and that's Fragrant Story and Papayas Path. It does have an average user score that's even higher than I scored. It's 9. But to Justin's point about indie games, this is from a one-man indie studio. One full-timer anyway, and obviously he contracts out stuff, but it's a tactics game, which as a rule, I'm not really into that style of game, compared to someone like Kirk, but it's got addictive gameplay, characters that are really interesting. I like the settings, professional voice acting, and there's just a lot of depth and replayability into it. So I would say if you're into like a tactical RPG, this game really it goes even beyond this recommendation because I'm recommending it as someone who's not really into that. But if you like it, all the more so. I would say it's a borderline must, especially because it's only $7.99.
Wow.
So if you're any interest in supporting small indie studios, this one's from Squire Games. Definitely give it a look. I'm really impressed with what they were able to do with it.
Brilliant. Yeah, I love that. Had you heard of this one, Justin?
No.
No. Really we'll have to add it. Each of us add it to our lists of
$7.99. That's
games to play. Wish list it, right, Kirk?
Yeah, and apparently it's one of the games that that's more my kind of thing. So
yeah, exactly. Yes, yeah.
There is some melodrama.
Yep,
it's got to have melodrama. Anything from you, Justin, on our number 9s before we move to number 8?
No, I don't think so.
No, okay, that's cool. Just don't want you to feel like you're in the background there.
No, okay, this is cool.
Nice. Okay, well, I will move on to number 8. So let me just head back to my list. Okay, so my number 8 game is an indie game, and it is called Little Kitty Big City, which I reviewed earlier this year. And it's, if you can't tell by the title, it's a cat-based game. Very Japanese, very cute. You're a little kitty, literally. You're a cat. Excuse me. You control the cat, and you're trying to find your way back up. You've fallen out of an apartment window, basically, is the premise. High up in the city, you're down on the sort of ground level, the street level, and you've got to kind of work your way back up to the top. And to do that, you have to meet different characters and completely different sort of little missions and puzzles. It's really sweet, really cute. Just a lovely game, with this adorable little kitty who can rub on things, obviously knock things over and get into little places, and there's other cats to meet, and you can pick up items and move them around, and you can trip over humans, and it's just adorable and also really fun. And the puzzle mechanic is great as well. It's not a super hard game. It's a very light game, but it's cartoony kind of look. Yeah, but just one that took me by surprise. I was interested when I think it was in a Nintendo Indie Direct maybe earlier this year.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that we first heard about it, and it caught my eye, and then I was lucky enough to be able to review it, and yeah, really enjoyed my time with it. So that is my number 8, Little Kitty, Big City. And there's a little bit of a theme you'll see with my top 10 after this. Let's go to Kirk's number 8. What's your number 8?
My number 8 is Tomb Raider 1 through 3 remastered.
Oh, nice.
Mainly because these are such fantastic games. They're absolutely. I think they're the 3 best Tomb Raider games ever made. I would listen to arguments to the contrary. I like these style games, these older ones, much more than what they eventually became, where Laura was just running around shooting at everything and people, and too much like all the other action games out there. Instead of having this own unique focus on exploration and puzzle solving more than on the action. The cool thing about it too is that you can flip between the classic and the remastered version. I often found that classic made things easier to see. There were some points where things were a little too dark in modern, and so I could find cave openings and such better in classic, so I did that frequently. And I remember Trevor and I having a discussion when I talked about this game with the tank controls. Because I was using the controller with the traditional keyboard mouse kind of setup, and couldn't do it, and thought I was losing my mind until I flipped over to controller only. But then I realized that after Trevor and I had this conversation that there are some benefits to the tank mode. There were like walking up to the edge of a cliff without falling over. It is huge because I died a lot by walking over the edges of cliffs. But so yeah, the ability to play it either way, to view it either way, it's kind of a bare bones thing. They just gave you the games and the updates, but it's enough, and it's a great package. And if you have never played any of these 3 original Tomb Raider games, I highly recommend Tomb Raider 1 through 3 remastered.
Excellent, very cool. And you're right, I do love that these games had their own kind of style, and then now they've become a bit more just generic, I suppose, haven't they? Like you said, yeah. So yes, the originals and the best still, at least in Kirk's and probably Trev's eyes as well.
It was so close to making my list.
Yeah.
If we had, top dozen, it would have. Because I agree with what Kirk said. I find myself actually at certain points flipping between the control schemes, because whether it was muscle memory or like you said, going to an edge, it's like. And I also loved flipping between old and new, because he's absolutely right. The old style tends to be brighter. It might not be as realistic lighting, but it helps you see better. And I was talking actually to one of our Pure Nintendo contributors, and he's like, I don't know how that's not standard now. Whenever they bring out an update of a game where they have the feature where you can just flip between old and new on the fly. So I'd like to see more of that in 2025 and beyond.
Definitely. I'm surprised as well. I wonder if that'll be on your prediction list then for next year.
Oh, is there still time to rewrite it?
More games that flip between old and new. We'd love to see that. Well, Trav, do you want to continue with your number 8?
Yes, I do. So my number 8 is SteamWorld Heist 2.
Ooh, nice.
I'm a big fan of the first SteamWorld Heist, and really pretty much every SteamWorld game I played. I know you've been playing Dig 2, Gemma, and
I have, yes.
Big fan of that too. And I think because I was a fan, my excitement was so high, it didn't quite live up to my inflated expectations, but the fact that I have it at my number 8 spot, tells you that I still really liked it. It's a big game, and I don't just mean the maps that you're sailing, although they're big, but I think it was over 35 hours into this. It almost made my top 3 for gameplay for the year. Of course, your time may vary depending on your skill and completionist leanings, but I would say if you're unsure about the kind of the fresh tweaks for this one, with the water setting and whatnot, grab it on sale. I checked. It's on sale for the first week of January at 40% off. So $17.99. I think it's well worth it for the amount of content you get. And there's some surprise twists that I'm not going to dare spoil, but yeah, I had a lot of fun with this.
Excellent. Yeah, I think Image and Form has had a fairly big sale recently, which is why I picked up SteamWorld Dig 2, which, yeah, Trav, I meant to ask you, can you believe I haven't had that game this whole time?
Oh, that's a great game. I think I reviewed it on
It is.
3DS, and I think I
Mm.
gave it a 9.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yes, all of their games are great in different ways, so not surprised and happy. I am happy to hear that that is on your list of top 10. So thank you, Trev. Well, I'll move on to number 7. What have I got for number 7? Okay, so this is the theme I was talking about. It's another cat-based game, and it is Cat Quest 3, which was a surprise entry for me. I have played Cat Quest 1. I haven't played Cat Quest 2, and then I had the opportunity to review Cat Quest 3 and loved it. It is so good. It's just the right balance of, I don't know, quirky humor, action, just cool, fast paced, I don't know, story. Yeah, it's kind of got this top down, almost isometric style. It looks like a Mode 7 sort of thing. It's like got this, the way the scenery revolves, but you're a cat pirate essentially, and you're on the seas with a boat. So this one has a boat. This is not, in terms of Cat Quest 1 and 2, they did not have ships. This time you have a ship, but you go from island to island. You do battles and missions. You're searching for treasure. You're helping other cats along the way. There's a giant rat, and they call it a pirate because he's a pirate king and he's a rat. So it's puns aplenty in this game. It's very funny. And just a ton of fun. And it's multiplayer. So I was able to play it with my son and we just had a blast with it. There's free DLC now as well. So you can, keep the adventure going. It's just a really great game. And this is another indie title. So excellent to see, well, for me to have it on this list. Like I said, I did get the chance to review it, so you can read my review online as well. But yeah, really, really enjoyed Cat Quest 3. Definitely can recommend. It's not an expensive game either. I can't tell you off the top of my head how much it is, sorry, but it's not hugely expensive at all. And I think you can even get a bundle of all 3 in one pack. So if you were interested, you could get all 3 in one go, and it's even cheaper then. Yes. That's my number 7. Sorry, Kirk, would you like to tell us your number 7?
I will. Number 7 is Ace Attorney Investigations Collection, which tends to be a trend. I think there's always an Ace Attorney game in my top 10 at the end of the year lately. This one is certainly unique. In this one, you play as Miles Edgeworth. There are 2 games in the collection, so we can again have our debate on how many games comprise a collection. Just 2. The second game was never released in the US. So for a lot of Ace Attorney fans, this is the first time that they're able to play one of these games. The originals were, or the first game in the collection came out for Nintendo DS in 2009. That was Ace Attorney Investigations Miles Edgeworth, and the second one was Ace Attorney Investigations 2 Prosecutor's Gambit. And that's what's unique about them, too, is you are not the defending attorney like you are in all the other Ace Attorney games. In this one, you're the prosecutor. Most of the cases don't actually take place in court. They're right on the scene. You do investigations. You talk to people and kind of figure things out right there without even going to court. You rarely step into a courtroom. But if you're a fan of Ace Attorney, they have everything you love about it. That same sense of humor, the same tension as you're trying to figure out what evidence to present at what time. Very fun stories, absolutely bonkers cases, usually about, I think, 5 per game that sort of all come together in one overarching story. So a lot of fun, just a whole lot of fun to play.
Definitely. The demo was great. I definitely enjoyed the demo. Love to play more of it. Excellent. Thank you, Kirk. Trev, would you like to tell us your number 7?
So for number 7, I have Tetris Forever. And it's interesting because this is really a case where I'm talking more about the collection kind of as a whole rather than the individual games. And I think it's a reflection of Digital Eclipse, how they've kind of mastered their approach with like these interactive timelines. It really connects with me, and really others too. I was checking. I gave it an 8.5. It's right in line with the Metascore at 8.4. But again, it's more of how it's designed, because you can't even play like Tetris NES on this, right? That's separate. That's on Switch Online. So the individual Tetris games are not the best, but it's got some cool things. It's got Hatris, which I showed to another pure Nintendo contributor, and they loved it. And it's got a new Tetris Time Warp, and I think they actually just updated it within the past week or so.
It did,
With
yes.
another, yeah. So it's a polished package, and just seeing the history of these stories, because Tetris is such a fascinating, history. It's like the end of the Cold War in a way, trying to secure the rights to this game and how they put it in the timeline. I mean, they call it the Gold Series, and it's true. I mean, it's gold, right? It's great. I think it's, um, yeah. I could go on, but just for the sake of time, I'll say it earned its spot on my list, and if they keep updating it, all the more better.
Mm. And I honestly did not realize there were that many versions of Tetris until this game came out.
So many, and this is just a
Crazy.
fraction of them.
Yeah, it's intense. It's very intense. Thank you, Trev. That's awesome. Justin, we can bring you in now because we're up to number 7.
Hey, I'm here. Yeah, lucky number 7.
Number
Oh,
7.
yeah. Listening to your updates and games has been awesome. Number 7 on my list is one that came out early in the year. It's Another Code Recollection or Recollection. I'm saying it recollection, but I think they were trying to go for a pun on that. But it's a bundling of the 2 Another Code games that were on the DS. So kind of similar to the Ace Attorney repackaging, things that they've been doing on the Switch. I love seeing these DS games getting a new audience on the Switch. So anyways, it's been a lot of fun. Katie and I really enjoyed it. So definitely check it out if you like kind of like mystery style games. So
Yeah, definitely. I've forgotten about that one. I had played the demo only, but I really enjoyed the demo, and I haven't played the originals. So that is one I should go back and actually pick up and play.
yeah, and I don't think it's a full price game either. I think it's like 40 or 50. So it wasn't like a full 60. So.
Very cool. Thank you, Justin. Welcome to the countdown. And it's back to me then, isn't it, for number 6? So let me look at my list. Okay. Number 6 for me is another indie title. I believe this is the first game for this group, and it's called Arranger, which was another one that we were given a peek at during some sort of Nintendo showcase or indie direct or something like that. And again, I was fortunate enough to be able to review this one. And the this is not why I love it, but the protagonist, her name is Gemma with a J, just like me. So very cool. How many heroes do you have called Gemma? Not many, so thank you. Soft spot for me.
If only I had a hero named Kirk that I could identify with, but he's just not out there.
But Arranger was great. It's a puzzle game. It's a top-down kind of. It's got this awesome sliding mechanic where it's like tiles, and you move your tiles, and that moves other things that are on the same kind of row or column that you're on, and it leads to all these interesting puzzles where you have to get to a door or get to a weapon or defeat an enemy. It's a really cool mechanic. Very, very fun. Also, a really neat story. Gemma's a girl, a sort of an orphan. She's grown up in this village, and now she wants to explore the world. And as she does so, she's, taking on other people's kind of missions as she meets them along the way. And there's also this whole overarching thing about why people can't leave this particular village. There's a reason. There's a trap or an entity that's stopping them. So she works on that as well to save the world while she's at it. Go Gemma. So
sounds like you're talking about yourself in third person.
I know. It's weird. But it is a really neat game. Definitely can recommend Arranger. And my full thoughts are on purenintendo.com as well if you'd like to read my review. But let's move on to Kirk for your number 6. What do you have for us?
6 is the last of my run on remasters or releases. It is Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance.
Cool.
Which was such a huge improvement over the original release, which was released for the Switch just a few years ago. But they added a whole new story that you could play, and a lot of quality of life improvements. The main one being that you could now save wherever you wanted. So if you were entering a battle and you got a one-shot kill, um, and you were the one who got killed, then you could save your game right before everything and then just pick up right where you were instead of losing. I think there were times I lost 45-50 minutes worth of gameplay because I hadn't worked my way back to a save point. So that alone is huge. But more importantly, the additional content that they put in story wise, and a lot of the characters that you fight. This has kind of like the turn-based Persona style battles in it. But such a good story, such a great game, and the re-release was totally worth it. So I was thrilled that they put this game out better than they did the first time.
Excellent. Sorry, just to recap, was that Shin Megami Tensei 5? Was that
Yes.
one? Yes, Vengeance.
Yep.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, Vengeance is the version you want.
Yeah, cool. Yes. Thank you, Kirk. Yes, I do remember that as well because that was sounded super frustrating when you lost all that time before. So quality of life kind of updates make it so much easier to progress. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of game fans will say that it's that difficulty that's, I mean, it's part and parcel with the series. They're difficult games, but I don't want them to be easy. I just don't want to have to repeat myself over and over again.
I think that's fair. There's a difference between, something being hard, but also once you've conquered it, you don't need to conquer it again, right? That's just punishment then at that point. Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Trev, what have you got for number 6?
All right. So I have Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door.
Nice.
Obviously not the first time it's been mentioned in this episode, and it's not going to be the last. In fact, I'll just say this. We had one staff member not on this episode, but they had that at their number 1. So
wow.
That kind of tells you all you need to know. I gave it an 8.5, which is a little lower than the Metascore, which had, I think, 88. And I wonder, it's funny, just listening to Kirk talk, if the save mechanic had anything to do with it, Gemma, because I remember we were joking about how it didn't have the save anywhere feature.
That's right, yes.
And I wonder if that influenced me. I'm trying to remember. But anyway, it's just a great game. If you have the nostalgia for the original like you did, you're going to love it. I missed it on the GameCube, so for me it was brand new. I still liked it. Big game. And, just thinking about my list up to this point, I feel like there's a good mix of big games like this and SteamWorld Heist, smaller games like Crow Country, and then certain games that are as big as you make them. But Paper Mario is really a good one if you want to hunker down for a fun adventure, a funny adventure too, because a lot of humor and good comical aspects. And I guess I'll just leave it at that because we're going to talk about it some more.
Yeah, it is a neat game. And I had forgotten that, but you're right about the saves. Like they did that with Super Mario RPG, didn't they? They added saves at any point, but they didn't add it for Paper Mario. I'm like, why not? I really.
They got to take a page from Shin Megami.
Yes, exactly.
Let that be the only page they take from Shin Megami. Those games could not be any further apart on attitude and tone.
We can have a more mature Paper Mario in the future. That would be interesting. Thank you, Trev. Justin, what's your number 6 title?
Yeah, this was kind of a new title for Nintendo, but the Princess Peach Showtime.
Nice.
Number 6. Really enjoyed the demo. Got to play some of the main game as well. My game time has been a little limited this year, but with raising the little guy. But yeah, it was. I really appreciate when Nintendo, they could have made kind of a Mario spinoff for this Peach game. They could have made it a platformer. It could have been a pretty safe by the numbers type of a thing. But I like that they decided, hey, let's have a game that has some diverse gameplay, but then really kind of leans into Peach as a character. So all the different transformations, I just thought it was a real fun, unique game. I can't honestly think of another Nintendo game quite like it. But
that's a really good point. It is very unique. Yes, definitely agree with you on that one. Any comments from anybody on our number sixes before we move to number fives?
I'm
I
just
went,
glad to see we're not forgetting about games that came out earlier in the year because
yeah.
Princess Peach, that was that winter or maybe early spring, but
March, I think it
It was
was.
March.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe March or
Mm,
April. Yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
so
Yep.
it's
Mhm.
Definitely. Yes. I agree. Totally agree, Trev. And to that point, my number five is actually a very early game of the year from January. It is Prince of Persia. Subtitle, remind me. I didn't write it down. What's the subtitle?
Oh, The Lost Crown.
Lost Crown. Sorry, I'm terrible with names.
Mhm.
Sorry about that.
You're good.
And Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. It did come out in January. I was lucky enough to try this last year in October at PAX in Melbourne. So I had a little preview. Was very impressed. It came out. I was fortunate enough to be able to review this one as well. Loved it. I haven't really had a lot of experience with Prince of Persia. I think we talked about this on another podcast where I played. I think we had all played some form or other in the distant past. But for me, it was at a friend's house on a PC, and it was very hard. I remember that.
Mm.
And the graphics obviously a lot simpler back then. Late 80s, early 90s. This is just a beautiful game. It just looks fantastic. Like it's side-scrolling, Metroidvania style. I know we don't love that term, but you know what I mean.
Mm.
And the way the map opens as you progress, and just the way the background looks as you're walking in the foreground, and even with the way you can interact with the foreground sometimes. I just love that look. It's beautiful. It really is a beautiful game. What I also love was at the time, and I mentioned this in my review, is that they developed it for multiple consoles, but they kept the Switch. Like I think they developed it for the Switch first, or they had the Switch at the forefront of their development so that it worked properly, and it did. There weren't crazy long loading times. There weren't stutters or weird graphical issues. It just was really smooth, and it just proves, because Nintendo does this a lot, and this is not a Nintendo game, like a first party game, but Nintendo can get the most out of their hardware. It proves that others can also get the most out of the hardware if they do it properly. And so I was really impressed with that. The story's great, the action's great, the controls are really fun, like easy, and but there's also puzzles and collectibles, and it's kind of got everything. And the other thing I need to mention is the accessibility. This was like, I think it even won an award. Was it at the Game Awards? Did it win most accessible game? Did I hear? Or it
I
was
think so.
definitely, yeah, it
Mm.
was definitely
Yeah.
nominated. I've never
Mhm.
seen such an accessible game. Like the menu options was just phenomenal, like in terms of turning on and off different features and text and colors and lighting and all the rest. It was just very impressive. I was really impressed. I do love all that sort of thing. So Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, yeah, definitely worthy of my number five. It could have been higher, honestly. I struggled with this one. It really could have been higher for me because I really was impressed with it. But number five, I think, still very worthy. And that's my story. Kirk, let's move on to your number five.
Well, first, I want to say maybe I made a mistake when I was putting together my Christmas wish list and I asked for Metroid Prime Remastered. Now, not that, I'm going to get that and love it, but maybe I should have gone with Prince of Persia instead.
Maybe. Mm-hmm.
well, I mean,
Yeah.
why not both, right? Let's not discount
Yeah.
Metroid Prime.
Exactly.
I mean, my
Exactly.
birthday's in March, so
True, true.
add things in.
Yeah.
My number five is a game that absolutely, completely captivated me. Came from completely out of nowhere. Natsuman 20th Century Summer Kid.
Oh, yeah.
This game, you're talking about joyful. It takes place in like the 90s. You're this kid, maybe around 10 years old. Your parents are in a circus. The circus comes into town, but the parents are having financial issues, so they have to leave you in the care of a woman running an inn. And you basically have the month of August to do whatever you want to do in this town. There's some guidance that's provided, and there's an overall story where you need to raise money for the circus in order to get new costumes and get new songs and basically try to get people to come in. You need to buy advertising, but that's so far on the side. It's not like a management at all. It's something you do. But just taking 30 days in this game, from morning until 10 p.m. every day, and just exploring. You're going in the woods, you're digging up treasure, you're fishing, you're collecting bugs, you're solving puzzles that like there's a few things where there's this little group of kids who kind of create these mysteries, like what's going on with this, and so you help them figure that out. There's a ghost girl that you need to find 30 times if you can, and which I did. It's one of the few things that you can 100%. That's one of the ones that I got. Didn't catch nearly all the fish. Didn't get close to the insect collection, but I found that ghost girl. But just it really does a great job of reminding you of your summers when there was really nothing to do except go outside and find your own fun. And this game is very fun, and I recommend it to all parents out there who have young players. It's a single player game, but you could certainly enjoy it together, coming up with ideas on what to do next. So wonderful. Natsuman 20th Century Summer Kid.
Excellent. Again, I remember you talking about that during the year, and it does have a demo, which I played through, and definitely worth checking out. Thank you, Kirk. That's brilliant. Trev, number 5.
Okay. So I feel the need to do a little disclaimer with this because unlike Kirk, who had his remasters and whatnot early in his list, mine are kind of high up on my list. 3 of my next 5 are games that I first played on a prior console. But, at the end of the day, it's my list. And I feel like it is balanced because the majority of the games on the list are new to me. So, and, nostalgia is always valid anyway. So, but I gave this one a 9 and I couldn't overlook it. And it was Epic Mickey Rebrushed.
Nice.
If you're a fan of 3D platformers, if you're a fan of collectathons, if you're a fan of Disney in general, Epic Mickey is not one you want to sleep on. I already liked it on the Wii. In fact, I still have it on the Wii, but this rebrushed version is the best it's ever been, with controls and the presentation, and of course the atmosphere is still as strong as it ever was. So I'll just leave it at that for the sake of the ticking clock. But I feel like Epic Mickey Rebrushed earned its way into my top 5, and I'm happy to give it a shout out.
Brilliant. Thank you, Trev. There are a lot of re-releases on our list this year, but that's just the year it was, right? I think we have to just acknowledge that. There were just a lot of re-releases this year, and that is perfectly fine. Some of them are, most of them are very worthy. And yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, Trev. Justin, what is your number 5 title?
Well, my number 5 is very similar to yours, Gemma. It's Prince of Persia: Lost Crown.
I assumed it would be somewhere on your list. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you said, just a fantastic Metroidvania, very well optimized on the Switch. And I think this one was maybe like one of the earliest games that released this year, at least on my list. I know another code I think was January. I think this was like second week of January or something like that. So this came out a while ago, but like you said, lots of awards, and really just an amazing game. So if you haven't checked it out, again, like Kirk said, if you got Metro Prime Remaster, play that as well. But this should definitely be on your list of Metroidvanias. I would go so far to say that this is the best Ubisoft game that they've made in years. Ubisoft has not really had a good streak going, in my opinion, and this is their best game in a while. So.
Yeah, I think that's fair. A fair comment, absolutely. And I think there's also DLC now as well, right, for this?
Yeah, there is.
Yes, I haven't had a chance to try that, but yes, there is DLC. So the game has expanded, plenty to do anyway, as it is. Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Justin. It's back to me then, isn't it? Let's see. What am I up to? Number 4. Oh, number 4. This is a recent game, and this is that cat theme continuing a little bit here. It's my 3rd cat game, and it's Stray, which I just reviewed this month in December. Actually, it just came out. I think it either came out late November or early December, but I just reviewed it a couple of weeks ago, and I loved it. I had not heard of this game. I was not at all familiar with this game. It is a re-release, but it's only 2 years old anyway. So when it came out on other consoles a couple of years ago, was very highly acclaimed, has now finally made its way to the Switch. So I don't count this as a re-release because it hasn't been on Nintendo devices before, and was completely new to me. I played it all the way through, loved it. It's starkly different to Little Kitty Big City in a way. You still play the role of a cat, and that part is very similar. You can knock things over, you can meow, you can rub on people's legs affectionately. but it's set in a post-apocalyptic world, so the cuteness factor is not here. This is a very dark game, but also you do meet some very interesting, robots. They're robots in this world along the way, and there is some humor. There is a bit of a balance there. It's not completely, jaded or dark in that sense. It's there is hope basically, and you're a cat trying to get back to your cat family. You're stuck in this kind of very low-level sewer kind of area at the start, a bit of a town with robots that are running this town, and you have to work your way back up to the surface of the earth. And there's a whole story behind why the earth has been cut off, and there's some monsters to kind of run away from and even fight at some point. Lots of puzzles to solve, lots of exploration to be had. It's just a really neat, really lovely looking game as well. It's very, I think I mentioned this in my review. This is the sort of game I wanted to take screenshots of because there were just so many scenes where the cat's just sitting there and it's this cute little kitty juxtaposed against this like apocalyptic background, and I just loved it. It was just it was so good. And the cat you could even curl up in certain spots and take little naps. It was just beautiful in that sense. Like I said, cat naps, exactly. Yes. So Stray, I think it was 9 out of 10, pretty sure. Up there with the best. So yes, that's my number 4. Very, very impressed with this one. I don't know if anyone else on the team has had a chance to play it at all, but yeah.
Maybe.
Okay.
I do think too that the thought that cute cats are going to survive and continue life in the apocalypse sort of makes the apocalypse a little less threatening.
Yeah, totally.
That's true.
Bad
That
for us,
did
but
it.
hey, cats.
And there's this, I won't go too much into it, but there's this one scene that really captivated me where it's a puzzle, but you have to trap these kind of bad robots in a jail cell. And that was just because every level, there's 12 chapters, and every chapter is very different. Sometimes you're exploring, sometimes you're, meeting people or trying to lead people to places, or robots really. But other times you're in stealth mode. Other times you're running really quickly away from something. But it's just the gameplay is varied essentially. And there's the one where you have to trap these robots in a jail cell, and it took me ages to do, but it was so fulfilling to do it. I loved it. So, yes. Stray, check it out if you haven't already. Let's move on to Kirk. What is your number 4 title?
This is my first Nintendo proper game, and I'm sure it's going to be on more lists as well. My number 4 is Super Mario Party Jamboree.
Oh, nice. You got it then.
I did get it.
Wonderful.
And it came in pretty much exactly where I thought it was going to. We've played it. Normally, this is a game that the family plays on New Year's Eve, but Sophie's going to be gone, so we decided to do it right there on Christmas Day, and we've been playing it pretty much every day since.
Nice.
Just a lot of fun. The mini games, some of the mini games in this one are possibly my favorites of all time. I just had a blast with it, and coincidentally, curiously, however you want to look at this, the first time we played it was the first time I have won a Mario Party game.
Oh, there you go.
In maybe half a decade.
Congratulations.
So that helps too. I feel like I got a better command than this one. But yeah, what a great game. They nailed it. They absolutely nailed it with this one. And possibly having more fun with this than the first one I played. And I can't remember which number it was. It was on the GameCube. And that's the one that made me a fan of the series. This may have overtaken it.
Ooh, well, 8 was on the Wii, wasn't it? I don't know what the numbers were on the GameCube. Must have been 6, 7, something.
They had 4, 5, 6, and 7.
All right,
it was one before. There was one like after that. They had one with a microphone or something you could use. It was before that.
I bet you it was 5. That's my favorite on the Cube.
Okay. That sounds like that could certainly be
it. Excellent.
Let's go with that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I won't mention anything about that because it's probably going to be mentioned again, like you said. So.
Yeah, it would have to be.
Yeah. Well, let's go into number 4 for Trev. What's happening at number 4 for you?
All righty. So, at number 4, not to contradict Justin, but I have a Ubisoft game. It's Beyond Good and Evil, but to his point, it is the 20th anniversary. So it is an older game, just touched up. So not brand new like Prince of Persia. Yeah. But this was another 9 out of 10 for me. And honestly, I wrestled scoring it even higher. And my sales pitch for those who haven't played it is, do you like 3D Zelda games? And of course you do. I mean, I shouldn't say of course, but more likely than not, especially if you're listening to us, you're a fan. And if that's the case, you're going to like Beyond Good and Evil. It's very much its own game. It's a unique identity with setting and the lead character, the allies, the enemies. It's more of a sci-fi driven game. The only possible hesitation is 1999. Some may think is a little high for a remaster, but if you're a completionist, you're going to pop 20 hours into this. So that's like $1 an hour. I mean, how do you beat that? Plus, it's a game you're going to want to replay. So if you've been on the fence, I say pick it up. If you have downloaded this one and haven't put a whole lot of time into it, why not start 2025 by playing it and beating it? I beat it alongside my wife, even though it isn't a 2-player game. We could help each other with the puzzles and trade off for combat and stuff. And I wish I could say more about it, but for the sake of time, I'll leave it at that. Beyond Good and Evil, 20th anniversary, great game.
Excellent. Thank you, Trev. Another excellent entry into our top 10 lists. Let's see how Justin counters that with his number 4.
Yeah, this is a familiar one, but Paper Mario Thousand Year Door
Nice.
gets the number 4 spot. Like Trev and others have said, just a great remaster. I really love seeing Paper Mario in HD. I don't know about you guys, but it just the colors, the paper art style just really pops. And yeah, other than some of the save issues here and there, like I hesitate to say it's the definitive way to play it, but it's probably one of the best places to play it now if you don't have access to a GameCube, and it is a very expensive game to find used, the original GameCube game. So it probably still is the best way to play. But yeah, great game.
Yeah, I think you're right. The color, that's a really good point. The HD really does pop. And I think I have the original GameCube game somewhere. I really should find that if it's worth something.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yes. Excellent. Thank you, Justin. Moving on to number 3, and this one has already been mentioned. My number 3 is Princess Peach Showtime. Justin had it on his list. It's on mine as well. And for the same reasons, really, that Justin already mentioned, I love this game. It's just such a unique idea, really. There's so much diversity in the gameplay. Peach's costumes change, and she can just do anything from Sword Fighter Peach, Chef Peach. I mean, we were playing it together. It's a one-player game, like many have said with others. But I had my nephew here and my 2 sons as well. The 4 of us were playing it. And we each kind of like in Australia we say bags. I don't know if that's a thing in America. Like I bags this character. Like I want this character kind of thing. So like my nephew wanted the ninja, for example, right? He wanted to be Ninja Peach. I was Sword Fighter Peach. My son was one of the other ones. I think the Chef Peach, whatever. So we were like, okay, when we get to this level, I'm doing ninja. I'm doing Ninja Peach, right? So, which was just a really fun way to do it. So we kind of alternated. It was just. And it's just such a lovely, I don't know, the whole story, it's simple but fresh. Like Justin said, they could have very easily made it a platformer. Peach has been in a platformer before. They didn't go down that route. They made a new idea for her. And I was thinking, I don't know, you guys have already done your predictions. We're going to talk about that in a future episode. But for me, I'm wondering if they're going to do more, like not side characters exactly. But this year we had a Luigi game, even though it was a remake or a remaster. Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. We had Princess Peach had her own game. We had a Zelda game. We need more of these kind of character, like not side characters, but you know what I mean? Like not Mario, not Link. These other characters need to have their own kind of spot in the sunlight as well, if that makes sense. So I love that Peach had her time to shine. Really enjoyed this game. Yeah, happy to see it on my list there. But let's move on to Kirk and his number 3. What's happening in the 3rd spot for you?
Number 3 is another game I'm sure we're going to talk about quite a bit. It is my second and final Nintendo proper game, Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom.
Nice.
Which ended, like when I got to the ending, I was so happy with it, as opposed to the beginning where I was kind of nervous about some things. Not because it was Zelda, I thought that was fantastic, but having to rely on other things for the combat, just going back to that scroll thing, like in the Breath of the Wild games, where you just have to swipe right
Yeah.
to get what you want.
Mhm.
Um, but what I loved was it just gave you so much to do, or so many ways to do things, that you didn't need to use everything. You figured out, this is going to work for me, and I'm going to use this almost all the time. Like those clouds. Once I got the ability to lay down clouds, I don't know if I ever did beds again,
Yeah.
because you had to time it, but it was just more versatile, I think, than the beds were.
Mm.
So it was a very unique way to play. It was a good story. I absolutely loved the final battle in that one. And again, I won't offer any details as to why for those who haven't gotten there yet, but it all came together so well, and it got better as it went along, which was the complete opposite for me, and I think a lot of other people, of Tears of the Kingdom, which got just kind of annoying as it went along. It was too much of having to build a lot of things. Thought this one kept the pacing going, and of course, it's a completely different kind of game, so you can't really compare the two. But I greatly enjoyed Echoes of Wisdom, and was glad that they gave us a game with Zelda as the protagonist.
Mm. Excellent. Definitely. I would love to echo your thoughts there, but I will save it.
Oh, I see what you did.
Nicely played.
Thank you. Let's go to Trev. What's your number 3 title of 2024?
All right. Super Mario Party Jamboree, as have heard already, and as you will hear, this is a great game. Uh, yeah, I'm a big fan of the series. I'll just say that.
Mhm.
So, that could be argued as partly why it's so high for me. But I feel like even if you're not that into the series, this may be a good introduction point, especially on Switch, because I mean the previous Mario Party games I thought were great in their own right too. But finally, we have more boards than you can count on one hand.
Yeah.
7 boards, and they're
And
all
diverse.
great.
Yeah, very diverse.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And in fact, just to kind of tease the next issue of the magazine, there's a fun spread that myself and Gemma and Rachel did. We were trying to rank the boards from favorite to least, and it was a tough task because even the number 7 board was still great, right? So,
Mm. Mhm.
um, yeah, I had some friends over and we were playing that, and it's so much fun. I mean, it is a party, but even if you don't have a friend, you can go online. Some of the boards are really, there's so much to them that you kind of have to, you almost want to play like solo just to get a feel for it. Up the turn count and be like, okay, what's this? What's in this nook, or how does this mechanic work? Because each board has its own features.
Mm.
Um, Great game. I was looking. I gave it a 9. It's 82 on Metacritic, which isn't bad, but I think this is definitely the best one on Switch and probably one of the best ones in the series in general. So,
Yeah. I'm surprised. I thought it'd be at least 85 on Metacritic. Anyway. Thank you, Trev.
mm.
Justin, what's your number 3 title?
Hey, I'm echoing Trev, but not in the same way that Gemma was echoing. But yeah, Super Mario Party Jamboree. Yeah, just a fantastic Mario Party game. I'm not typically that big into Mario Party games. It's been a while since I've really gotten into one. Maybe it's kind of like GameCube era, or maybe early Wii. Um, so it's been a while, but I thought they did a fantastic job with this one. We played a lot over the holidays, and um, yeah, great mini games, like Kirk was saying. Yeah, just a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. Justin, do you have a favorite board?
I do like uh, the tide changing one. I know it can get
Ah,
annoying
yeah.
sometimes if
Goomba
you,
Lagoon, is it? Yeah.
yeah,
It
if you
can
get
get
stuck
annoying.
in the kind of the center ring there.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I love the visuals. Like that's another thing with
Mm.
the game. It looks really good. Like the water effects. So I think one of the mini games where you're like fishing, you know, like the wave effects. I was like, I want a new wave race. This is what.
Yes.
um,
Oh,
but
we were lamenting that recently as well, weren't we, on the show?
I, I
Yeah.
felt like I felt like that guy that was on Miiverse that always said, "Ooh, the water effects. Ooh, look at the water."
I remember him.
Yeah.
Uh,
Kirk, did you have a favorite since we're talking about Mario Party Jamboree?
It's kind of funny. My favorite so far, I haven't unlocked them all yet. Is I can't remember the name of it. The one where you're driving the race cars.
Oh yeah, I love that one.
The
Yes.
rest of my family hated it.
Oh really?
Yeah, they didn't like get into the flow of that one. But I just thought it was great that the stars don't move and you just like need to hit the right track.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
we got all the way through it. It wasn't until like round 9 or 10 we played the 10 round one on that, and it took us till like the 9th round before anyone even got a star. So it was a very different way to play, but I thought that was great.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites too. Trev, what's your favorite?
I just find it amusing. Excuse me. Not to spoil the article that I alluded to,
No,
but
no.
I kind of feel like Kirk's family because Gemma, you and Rachel both had that was it Roland Raceway?
Yeah, yeah.
Very high. And I had it near the bottom. And I'm like, am I the odd guy out? And then I hear Kirk and I'm like, maybe it's just me or maybe I'm like your family. I don't know. Um, reminder, they're all great. I really liked the mall track though.
Mm, mhm.
Rainbow Galleria.
That one was
Yes.
big with my family too. I think Sophie and
Yeah.
Terry especially preferred that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's so much, and I could see why maybe some would be intimidated by it because it's like a 3-floor mall. You kind of have to, you really can't go 10 rounds and see everything it has to
Mm,
offer.
mhm.
So you got to carve out some time. But that was probably my favorite, and I think that was high with you guys too. So it'll be interesting to see where everything lands.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Trev, and I agree. I completely agree. They're all great. Yes, looking forward to seeing that article in print when it comes out. But yes, we're down to the top two now, so we're really at the high end of of gaming here. And to kind of continue the theme, my number two is actually Super Mario Party Jamboree. So we've all had it, very high, whether it's Kirk's number 4, 3 for Trev and Justin, and number 2 for me. Not too much to add. It's just a really fun game. It's just such a well packaged outing for Mario Party. And I guess like you, Trevor, I have been a fan for a long time, but I really got into it probably around the Wii era. Mario Party 8. We played a lot of Mario Party 8 and then 9 and 10. Got all the Switch titles. Definitely played the older ones as well, but yeah, just massively got into it around Mario Party 8. So yeah, I was really looking forward to this one. Really enjoying the fact that it's got the boards, obviously, but also those one-player modes, like the Koopa takedown, whatever it is.
Yeah, I thought that was clever.
Yeah. Lots of different modes for solo players if they wanted to play a different way. Just a lot to do, a lot of fun. It looks great, like Justin said. Yeah, it's kind of I don't know, the epitome of a good Mario Party game. I think they've done a really good job with that one. So very happy with that one. But I don't need to add too much more because we've already spoken a lot about it. So let's move straight on to Kirk's number 2. What is your second top game of 2024?
This is another game that caught me completely off guard, and coincidentally, it's another game published by Spike Chunsoft, like Natsuman, 20th Century Summer Kid. I'm going to very briefly make an analogy that sounds like won't make any sense. But when we were younger, when I was in high school, one of my brother Matt's favorite bands was the Dead Milkmen. I could not stand the Dead Milkmen. I didn't get the Dead Milkmen. And then I listened to one song, and suddenly every single thing they have ever done made sense to me. And I got it, and they became one of my favorite bands. And that's what happened here with Shiren the Wanderer, the Mystery Dungeon of Serpent Coil Island. This is a roguelike game, randomly generated maps that you go in, and it's brutally difficult, and you could go 2 levels in and you die, you can go 17 levels in and you die, and when you die, you lose everything. You lose all the items you required, you lose all your money, you lose your experience, everything is gone, and you go back to the beginning, and I never understood why that could be fun. until I was about 5, 6 hours, I think, into this review, and suddenly it clicked, and I understood the flow, and I understood the strategy, and I absolutely loved this game after that, to the point where I went back and bought a previous game that is also available on the Switch digitally, another Share in the Wanderer game, and started trying to find the original one. That there was one that came out for the Wii called Share in the Wanderer. I think that was it. It might have been a remake of something. I bought that and didn't like it and sold it. And now I thought, well, now I got to go back and try that one, pull it up on the Wii U and play that. Just totally got into this game, the difficulty of it, and just accepting that most of the time I'm going to die and it's all going to be for naught, except I'm going to become a little bit smarter. I'm going to learn how to use the items that are in it. Once you meet another character in it, it's possible to meet that character again. And then you're not doing this alone. You can have, I think, a total of up to 4 people doing it. In fact, the one time when I finally got to the end and beat the story, I had no intention of making that happen. I thought I was just doing a run just for the fun of it. And I got 17 levels in, 18, 20, and I thought, man, this is getting good. I think I can actually do this. And I did. And they've released just a ton of extra content DLC after it's done. So even after you finish the story, there are so many other dungeons to do and different challenges to take on. They've been releasing content for this all year. And it's just a thrilling game to go through if you can get into it.
So you have to give yourself 5 or 6 hours. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. If I think I mentioned in the review, if I hadn't reviewed this, I probably would have bailed. But because I was reviewing it, I had to keep going and was glad that I did. So good thing I took this, or else it wouldn't have even made my top 10 list. And here it is at number 2.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's fantastic.
And the soundtrack is from the Dead Milkmen, or?
In my mind, the soundtrack of every game I've ever played is from the Dead Milk. Just put them on and go at it.
Nice. Thank you, Kirk. Trev, what is your number 2 title of 2024?
The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. It's interesting, as I'm looking at my list. In 2024, few dozen reviews I had, I reviewed a lot of great games and plenty of games that, were middle of the road, some not so good, but 9 of the games on my list were review games. This is the only one I did not review, because you reviewed this one, Gemma.
I did.
And because of that, I was really able to take my time playing alongside my wife. We would trade off overworld dungeons, and it's just a great game, which shouldn't surprise anyone. I'm not saying anything you haven't already heard or will hear still, but I think replaying it will tell me, where I'm going to wind up in my personal ranking of Zelda games. But the echo mechanic is just so clever, and my fondness for the top-down setting is so strong, as listeners to the podcast probably know. That's why I give it the second spot. And just a little fun fact, actually, looking at my recap, this game was runner-up, both in Tears of the Kingdom at 39 hours.
There you go.
I went back to Tears of the Kingdom in preparation for Echoes. We knocked out some shrines we missed, which was actually a lot, and some other stuff. But yeah, this game was a lot of fun. And what more can I say? It's Zelda, and not just Zelda as the character. Although it's about time, but just that gameplay that's been proven.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that. Thank you very much, Trev. I'm super interested in what your number 1 is, but we'll get to that soon enough. So let's move on to Justin. And what is your number 2 title?
It's Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. So yeah, very common pick around these parts of the top 3. But yeah, just a fantastic game. Other than some of the scrolling endlessly for items, and some of that gets a little bit better if you do kind of the recently used, and as you upgrade different echoes, and that gets a little bit better a little bit as you go. But yeah, still have not beaten it, so appreciate the no spoilers, Kirk. But yeah, I do want to finish it soon. Yeah.
Yes, excellent. Not surprised that it's up there. Also, very interested in your number one now as well, because we are down to the number one title of 2024 for each of us. So I'm up first, and you can probably guess because I haven't already mentioned it. So it's kind of the only one left for me. It is Echoes of Wisdom. It did make my number one title of the year. I just love this game. I just think it's such a fresh take on the series. And like Trev, I'm a huge fan of top down Zelda titles. So having something completely new, I would have been happy with another entry, a Link entry, but having a Zelda based entry, something just completely left field. No one was expecting this. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. It looks glorious. Like it just looks fantastic. Even though it's that cartoony style, it's not like the realism of Tears of the Kingdom. It's just beautiful. Again, with the water, right? The water shimmers and it's just amazing. So I love it. I love the top-down style. I love the freedom to explore. But also you've got a path to follow. So Tears of the Kingdom, I got very lost. I got very distracted. This one also distracted, but nowhere near as much. And so I was able to follow the path, but also go my own way and do my own thing, and find the horses when I wanted to, and find all the little stamp shops or what, not stamp shops, the little stamp dude and all the rest of it. Right. So there's just so much to do, which is part and parcel of the series. But I felt like this wasn't too much to do. It was contained enough that it was enjoyable in a sort of a bubble, if that makes sense. But yeah, the story is just really sweet. I love all the characters. I love the echoes. I really like the rift and going into that underworld and the dungeons and using, like I think Kirk said, just the fact that everyone could do this differently. There were so many ways to defeat each and every boss. You didn't have to do it one way or another. You could use any number of methods, almost an infinite number of methods. Trying to find all the treasures and the hearts pieces, that was sort of, you could see them. It's almost like I don't know how familiar you are with Harry Potter, but we use this a lot in my family. Where from the very first movie, Voldemort is trying to get to the Sorcerer's Stone. It's like, I can see it, but how do I get it? This is a quote we say in my family a lot. But you can see the heart piece, but how do I get it, right? And there's the kind of that challenge of being able to actually access it and grab it, and the satisfaction that you get from doing so. So yeah, it made my number one game. I did review it, so I was put a lot of time and effort into it, and was just in love with this game. So I think it's a worthy number one for me, at least. So let's see what Kirk has. I don't know what Kirk has actually, but let's see what Kirk has for number one. What's your number one title of 2024?
Yeah, there are no secrets about this, huh? In fact, I was looking at my review for this game, which I published on March 31st, and I started the review off with, it's probably too early to be declaring my 2024 game of the year. It was not too early to declare. In fact, Unicorn Overlord, I have to go back and look because I can't say for sure, but this may be my favorite Switch game ever.
Wow.
Whoa.
Oh my, yeah, I just went nuts for this game. It's a turn-based, or actually it's more of an active time JRPG with this good story. I mean, it's not going to revolutionize anything, the story, but it's good enough to propel you through. I think Gemma, we just talked about 127 hours. Is that what I put into this? 60 characters that you're doing. The combat is so much fun, and there's so much freedom of customization where you can try out different things, put different characters in different groups, and then you have the groups, like 4 or 5 groups. I think you can maybe go up to 8. Yeah, it's been a while. Into these battles, and there's just so much to do in the overworld with how you're managing the territories that you've acquired, getting the materials that you need, going on the side quests. It doesn't play like any of these kind of games that you've done before. I think, in fact, I may have mentioned that I was playing, what was that called? Well, forget it. It's the kind of game where when it was done, I started searching for Dealfield Chronicle. Sorry, I'm playing it right now. I can't believe I lost that. It's the kind of game where you start looking for other games like it when you're done because you want to keep the experience going.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was an almost perfect game. I rated it a 9.5 out of 10. Some issues with the UI that I think were a little harder to optimize your party because it didn't really give you the information you needed, but that's such a minor complaint. Um, Thrilled with this game. The developers have said that they plan right now no DLC and no sequel, and I think I'm okay with that because I really just want this to stand on its own as one of the best games I've played on the Nintendo Switch.
Wow, that is a huge wrap. Excellent. I mean, I just love the passion that you give when you talk about it. It's very clearly, it's clear that you love this game, and I love to hear that. So, thank you
Yeah,
very much.
and I love that these kind of games come out that you could get that passionate about because I love
Mm,
so many of these games that we play I think are great and I have such a good time with them. But yeah, when one rises this and high above and stands out from everything else so distinctly, it makes the whole thing worth it. Everything we're doing.
yeah, I love that. That's a really nice sentiment. Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. Thank you, Kirk. Do you think before you played it, in anticipation of this game, because we knew it was coming out, we knew that it was something you'd be interested in, and I think we probably even knew that you were reviewing it before its release date. Were you anticipating it to be as good as it was, or were you a little just ambivalent, like it'll probably be fine, but let's just give it a go?
I had a feeling it was going to be really good. The game that
Mm,
they released before this was 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, which is a completely different kind of game. The Vanillaware, the developers of the game I'm talking about.
mm,
And that game surprised me on how much I liked it. So I was hoping to get the same experience here. And it is more my style game. So I was really optimistic, but it still rose above my expectations.
yeah, excellent. Do we know if it did well sales wise by any chance?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, great. That's what we love to hear. Excellent. Thank you. That's Kirk's number one title of 2024. Let's see what Trev has. What is your number one title of 2024?
Okay, drum roll. My number one game for the year is Broken Sword: Shadow of the Templars,
Ah,
which, of course, is an old game. First came out back in the mid to late '90s, but the Switch version just really it does what I was talking about earlier, switching between old and new visuals on the fly, and it's great because it looks amazing, and you can also flip and then see how amazing the pixel art looked back in the day. Best of both worlds. I gave this one a 10. So if you read the review, you'd kind of know it was my game of the year, especially since I mentioned it in the summary. In fact, I went ahead and just copy and pasted this. I said it's 2024 and my game of the year is a graphic adventure first released in 1996. Go figure. Um, but, you know, the, just read the review. I don't want to repeat what I already said or, what I, how much time I could chew up if I got talking about it.
yeah.
84 Metascore, too low. Even the PlayStation version's higher, 89, still too low. Again, I gave it a 10, which I think it's only the second 10 I've ever given out during my decade plus with pure Nintendo. Do
Mm.
not let the thumbnail scare you off. This game has the worst thumbnail art I've ever seen. It's hideous. Ignore it and just buy the game and
Mm.
pretend it doesn't exist.
yes.
Uh,
Yes, I definitely should have known that was number one because I remember you going on about this and giving it a 10. So, yes, of course, that's your number one.
yeah, point and click graphic adventure. I'm a sucker for one that's done great, and this is the greatest in my opinion.
Mm. Hmm. Very cool. Yes. Well,
Praise.
listeners, go out there and try Broken Sword: Shadow of the Templars. Yep, you heard it. You heard it from Trev. And now we're on to, I guess, the final game. We'll reveal the kind of list of the whole team after this, but this is Justin's number one title of 2024. What made the cut for you?
It's another RPG. It is Mario and Luigi Brothership.
Oh, I'm glad it
So
was on someone's list. I didn't get to play this one.
I know it came out here at the tail end of the year, and I was really thinking 2024 would be a really light year for Nintendo, first party wise. I was expecting a lot of remakes, and Echoes of Wisdom, Brothership, and Jamboree. And Thousand Year Door is still great, but still kind of a remaster. But
And we had Peach as well, Princess Peach.
yeah, Princess Peach. Like they really created a solid year. Like I think it probably lines up pretty well with a lot of the other Switch years. Like some consoles may have their weakest year in their last year, or what we would anticipate might be its last year. Although I can still see plenty of games coming out for Switch One next year, even if the new system launches next year. So, anyways, but Brothership is fantastic. The art style, I've missed the Mario and Luigi games. I love the combos. If you guys get a little bit of that in the Paper Mario game, but in Mario and Luigi Brothership, they really take it to the next level of. I love even when they just are like hitting their hammers together, just the animations. They really did an amazing art style and animation style for Brothership. So if you haven't checked it out, initially I was thinking it was kind of a remaster, so when I first saw the trailer for it, I'm like, wait a minute, this is a totally new game, so yeah, it's worth the wait. I know some of the reviews out there aren't quite as glowing, but yeah, definitely check it out.
Yeah, I would love to check it out. I'm sure this would be on my list if I had played it. Sadly, I have not.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's just only so much money, so much time.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm very glad it made your number one, Justin. That's awesome. I was going to say, yes, so 2024, the start of the year, had no idea what was coming. We didn't know we were getting a new Mario Party. We didn't know we were getting a new Zelda themed game. We didn't know we were getting a Mario and Luigi game. None of this was clear at the start of the year. So 2024 did turn out to be a very exciting and jam-packed year full of gaming delights. But now, Trev, would you like to reveal our team top 10, which takes into account everyone, not just the four of us, but all of our team members?
Yeah, absolutely. It was fun, checking out with the rest of the crew to see their thoughts. And yeah, this is a reflection of pure Nintendo as a whole. So there's some games we're going to recognize, some that may surprise, and but number 10. So I'll go from low to high. Number 10 is Unicorn Overlord.
Oh, too low.
It's funny. Embarrassed Kirk a little because when he sent me in his votes, he said, "This is easily game of the year, but you first party Nintendo homers won't allow it." Well, we did allow it into the top 10, although at the bottom. But I will say, in your defense, Kirk, of every game on this list, Unicorn Overlord does have the highest Metascore at 89.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm not alone. I mean, yeah, and I get it's one of those games that has kind of more of a niche audience, so not everybody is going to play this kind of game. And I'm going to encourage you to play it, even if it's outside your wheelhouse.
Yeah, or at least check out the demo, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There is a demo. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, number 10, Unicorn Overlord. Number 9, Tetris Forever. Not the first time we've had Tetris in our top 10, and probably not the last, because I mean the Tetris games are timeless, right?
Yeah.
Number 8, this one surprised me, and with the Metascore of 86, maybe it shouldn't have, but that's Cat Quest 3.
Yeah.
Which
Okay.
Gemma, you had on your list.
I did. Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to check out the trilogy, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Number 7, Prince of Persia, and I also don't have the subtitle.
The Lost Crown. I remember this time.
There we go. Yeah, and it's cool to get up there because that was very early in January, so we didn't forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
Number 6 is Stray, which actually we had another person vote for that even before your review, Gemma.
Oh, wow, cool.
So no, you don't have to worry about swaying or influencing anyone unduly because obviously the game's connecting. So, yeah.
My dog is howling at the thought of a cat game.
It's because we're talking about cats, right?
Right.
Totally unfair.
Yeah. So number 5 is Princess Peach Showtime,
Mm.
which is one of those games that maybe were a little more mixed with a lot of critics, but yeah, it scored well with us. Top 5. Number 4 is Broken Sword, Shadow of the Templars Reforged. I forgot the subtitle last time too. And I'm so grateful that I was able to introduce this game to a couple pure Nintendo contributors, which helped move it up. If it had come out early in the year, I think I probably could have had this game at number 1 because I would have talked all you guys into playing it.
Your
But
stuff in the ballot, Trev.
I'll settle for just outside the top 3. Um,
You need to become a lobbyist, it sounds like.
yeah. Well, there's some tough competition. I don't think it would have topped our number 3, Paper Mario, The Thousand Year Door. No surprise to have Mario in the top 3, and or even the top 2, because number 2 is Super Mario Party Jamboree, which I think all of us had in our own top 5. So no surprise there. And number 1, Gemma, you'll be glad because it was your number 1, The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom.
Wow. There you go.
Yeah, Zelda's always a threat for number 1, so I think I got it this year.
Yeah. Oh, so Mario and Luigi didn't make it, sadly.
No, unfortunately.
Yeah, it comes in like even a lot of like the Game Award shows, the main Game Awards, games that come out late in the year just don't get that consideration, right? And they don't have time to have people play and review it and put it in. So
it's a good list, though. It's like a good,
very good.
good mix of indie, first party,
Yeah.
even specialist or niche games, as Kirk likes to say. Unicorn over.
We all had a few from our own in the top 10, so that's cool.
Yeah.
And speaking of Unicorn Overlord, Kirk, I was just looking; it is 40% off right now.
Oh, wow!
So
that's really good.
Everybody do it. Do it. Everyone
Do
listening.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's pretty sizable. That ends next weekend, January 6th. So you guys still have some time.
Plenty of time. That's a very good discount. There are lots of discounts at the moment. So definitely check out the eShop and see what's on there, and do as Kirk does, which is wishlist, so that you can see when things are on sale. Yeah. Because I know, like I said earlier, Image and Form, the makers of the SeaMode games, have had a huge sale recently, so definitely check those out as well. I don't even know if something like, I don't think Echoes of Wisdom and Mario Party Jamboree would be on sale yet because they're too new and too popular, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Worth it though at full price. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Oh, totally. And
Mario Party, that's an evergreen game, and
yeah, you'll play that forever. I mean, honestly, yeah, we were playing that as well. Just and I have to admit, I meant to say this earlier when it was in my top 10, but Kirk mentioned winning for the first time. I have to admit, this one seems more balanced. I feel like I've won more than usual. Usually, I just, it seems unfair sometimes and frustrating, these games, because you just cannot get a star no matter what you do. And I've won a few rounds myself with my family, and my youngest has won as well. So it seems to be a bit more, I don't know if it's balanced or just something's different.
Too, they also have options for party rules or pro rules, which I don't know how much you guys have dabbled, but I think I mentioned that in the review. I like the pro rules because it takes away some of those like crazy chance spaces where Bowser can like take every star from one person and give it to another.
Yeah.
Cuts on the cheese.
Yeah, they're a bit harsh, those spaces, that's for sure. Excellent. So we have our top 10. Do we have anything else we'd like to mention before? This is our last episode of the year, so anything else we want to highlight? Do we want to tease next week? Are we going to do a prediction episode for 2025?
Yeah, definitely.
That's going to be an exciting episode. I would just say I'd love to hear what the readers' top 10s are. So wherever you're listening to the show, if you can leave a comment, I mean, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And just also leave us a comment. What's your top 10 or what's your number 1? We would love to know. Do you agree with our list? yeah, we've taken into account a team of people, but we'd love to know what your thoughts are. So yeah, engage with us. Thank you. Anything else before we close off? No. Okay. Well, yeah, tune in next week, because next week will be our first episode of 2025, and we'll do our traditional prediction episode where Justin and Trev in particular do their. How many do you guys do? Is it 5 or 10?
10.
10.
And each and a couple wilds.
Yeah, a couple of wilds. So 10
10.
predictions for what they think will happen in
I
2025.
predict it will be a great episode.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
And we just want to say thank you to all our listeners for this year. This is our biggest year ever. We've done the most episodes this year of the last 3 years. It's been 3 years that we've been doing this particular weekly podcast. We've gone from strength to strength. So thank you so much. We couldn't do it without the support of our listeners. Don't forget to hit that like button if you're watching on YouTube, or subscribe for episode releases that we do release every Monday. We hope you've had a great year. We hope you enjoyed our Game of the Year episode. You can follow us on Blue Sky, and you can also support us if you do want to get yourself a printed copy of the Pure Nintendo magazine. Head on over to patreon.com/Pure Nintendo, and we will get that to you in the near future. Thank you so much, Kirk and Trev and Justin, for another amazing year together. It's been fantastic. And Happy New Year to everybody. And we'll talk to you all next week for our predictions episode. Until then, thank you, and game on, everybody.
Thanks
Bye.
all. Happy New Year.
See ya.